Alcoholism. You've Googled it, I've Googled it. Now we're gonna learn all about it.
I've Googled it. Jamie, I'm gonna ask you a deep, philosophical, doctor internal struggle question.
Perfect.
That was loaded. Why is it that if you and I were drinking right now, we would both be hypocritical, because we're doing something bad for our bodies, but it would also be socially acceptable?
What a thoughtful and thoughtful.
Tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
You're not.
So is there any organ in our body that hammering whiskey does not affect?
No.
Exactly, but if I was drinking whiskey right now, people would be like, oh, it's cool. They're just getting lit on one of the most abused substances in the world. As Jamie mentioned, a lot of people have been Googling about alcohol use, especially during the pandemic when many people were being booze hounds in the comfort of their own homes while they're socially isolated, drinking away their feelings and their fears.
Is that what people drink for?
I may be projecting right now. Regardless, let's talk a little bit more about alcohol and booze. We're gonna go through 7 facts about booze, ranging from the signs of what it does to your body to how to recognize the signs of alcoholism in yourself or a loved one. Let's get into it.
We all need it.
Number 1, even though it's socially acceptable, alcohol is one of the most abused substances in the world. Now let's be real, we all like a little bit of a libation every now and then. I'm an amateur mixologist myself. But each year, alcohol consumption costs our country $250 billion. 140,000 people die from it each year, and it's responsible for 1 in 10 deaths in working age Americans. And don't even get me started on the health consequences on your body. Jamie, take it away.
Man, liver disease, heart disease, strokes. There are so many different organs that are affected by the presence of alcohol in your bloodstream. You can just develop so much significant disease and it leads to death.
And like, here's the thing. We understand that a lot of things in life are okay with moderation, but just be cognizant that if and when you have a drink, you are technically drinking poison. Your liver may want to slap you across the face.
You know what's funny? Speaking of number 2, a lot of people binge drink.
Which is surprising, because I'm sure when I say binge drinking, people are like, no, I never binge drink, I just drink casually. But after you learn the definition of binge drinking, you're gonna be like me and be like, oh my God, I must have binge drinked in college. Sorry, mom and dad, if you're watching this.
I was the same way.
The definition of binge drinking, prepare yourself, is 5 or more drinks in one occasion for men and 4 or more for women. And if you actually look at the stats, 1 in 6 US adults binge drinks regularly, with 25% doing it weekly.
That's 1 in 4. 1 in 4 people binge drink weekly. We got 6 people here right now, so we know there's at least 1.3 of us that are binge drinking weekly.
1.3. Do some mental math right there.
Real quick.
So someone in our production crew right now, statistically, is binge drinking weekly. And it's important to understand this reality because when you're hammering that much alcohol in a short amount of time, as we'll explain later, the toxic side effects of getting drunk are going to add up, which is why binge drinking is responsible for 40% of deaths related to excess alcohol consumption.
That number is out of this world, and that's why we want you to know about this.
So next time you're out and you're having a couple drinks, think to yourself, is tonight going to be a binge drinking episode? And then don't do that.
Just keep it to a couple drinks.
There's nothing scientific about it. Just
No.
don't binge drink. I mean, if the Suns win the championship, I'm not gonna publicly say that I will binge drink, but if the Phoenix Suns, all right. Number 3, most people don't even know what a standard drink actually means. We talk about binge drinking, we talk about having multiple drinks a night, but do you know the actual definition of a standard drink?
I don't.
Well, check this out. There are 6 people here, Jamie and 5 people in production staff. How many ounces of pure alcohol encompasses a standard drink?
1.
1 ounce.
1 jigger's worth.
1 jigger's worth. I got 1 ounce. What's your vote?
Mine? Ooh. An ounce?
So just for context, a shot glass is 1.5 ounces.
In all my life, I've thought a shot glass was 1 ounce, or since I was 21.
Well, that's very responsible of you. I think I knew that when I was like 15. Sorry, Mom. But here's my question for everyone out here. How many ounces of pure alcohol have to be in a drink, whatever is in that drink, to constitute one standard drink?
A half an ounce of pure alcohol?
I'd say a shot.
A standard drink is defined by any drink that has at least 0.6 ounces of 100% alcohol ethanol in it. So if it's 1.5 ounces of a hard liquor that's 40% alcohol, that's 0.6 ounces. If it's 12 ounces of a 5% beer, that's 0.6 ounces. If it's 5 ounces of a 12% wine, that's 0.6 ounces. See that? This is like high school math coming around to tell you that you are drinking too much.
What we're telling you is you need to be thinking before you go out, and you really gotta measure how much you're actually drinking so you're not damaging your body.
Yeah, because check it out. Some fancy cocktails, like a Negroni, has 3 ounces of hard liquor in it, potentially. I mean, vermouth is a little bit lower, but like gin, Campari, you get the point. It's probably more than 0.6 ounces. So you're having more than one standard drink when you think you're only having one.
Number 4, a lot of people think alcohol just damages your liver, but it actually causes a lot of damage to your brain. I mean, you guys feel it. You can feel it hit your brain within 5 to 10 minutes.
Alcohol goes in your system and your liver and your stomach are trying to do their job to get rid of it, but your brain feels the effect. And we're gonna run through the neuroanatomy, fancy term for parts of your brain, and how alcohol affects it and what you may or may not have experienced. Alcohol hits your cerebral cortex, and this is used for judgment, critical thinking, and planning, and this is why you sometimes act like a moron when you're drunk.
If you look at cops who are giving field sobriety tests, what are they actually looking at? They're making you walk in a straight line. They're trying to see if you're balanced. You're off balance and off kilter because of the alcohol.
Because it's affecting your cerebellum. It also is gonna hit your hypothalamus. So when you're drinking and you're drunk, you may feel hot when it's actually cold outside. You may feel cold when it's actually hot outside because your hypothalamus does a lot of this internal regulation and it gets totally thrown out of funk when you're drunk. That can be dangerous.
And the reason why you're conscious, why you know where you are, what keeps you in that state of alertness is your brainstem. And alcohol can hit your medulla and it causes you to be unconscious. That's why your friends pass out when they're drinking way too much.
Jamie, I'm not trying to imply that you've ever been really drunk before, but have you been drunk before and made a stupid decision and then forgot about it?
I probably have, but I forgot about it, so I can't tell you about that decision.
That's your hippocampus, another part of your brain that's affected when you drink, which is why some people might do something and then look at their phone the next day and see the photos and be like, oh my God, I did that. Yeah, this is all your brain being affected by alcohol. And here's 2 very scary things about alcohol's effect on your brain. Number 1, when kids are young, their brains aren't fully developed, adolescents, teenagers. So alcohol can have a really detrimental effect on their developing brains. And also, scientists now suspect that even 1 to 2 regular drinks can actually shrink your brain's volume over time, similar to aging, like Jamie's patients.
Exactly, and that's not something that you want to have happen to you. We do want you to understand that the consequences of drinking alcohol do not just affect your liver, but they also affect your brain significantly.
You can now impress your friends. You'd be like, check this out. Here's my neuroanatomy lesson on what happens to your brain when you get lit.
And you still don't want to get lit too much.
I'm Dr. Rutland. You want to get lit, just not too much. I mean, get lit, but just not too much.
All right, number 5, alcohol actually gets broken down into many different chemicals in your bloodstream. And I think it's important to understand how those chemicals can affect what your body goes through.
Like some toxic ass substances. So we talked about how alcohol affects your brain. Your liver is like, get this poison out of my house. So ethanol, which is what you're drinking when you're drinking alcohol, hopefully if you're drinking methanol, you might go blind. That's a different video. But the alcohol that you buy and drink at a bar is ethanol. Goes to your liver, gets broken down into acetaldehyde. Then that gets broken down into acetate and your body gets rid of it. Acetaldehyde, which is over here in my liver picture, acetaldehyde is toxic to your body and causes a lot of those really bad side effects when people drink.
Not to mention the fact that if you are abusing alcohol and you're abusing, I don't know, any methamphetamine like cocaine, you get an extremely toxic substance in your bloodstream that actually causes your heart to not function and you can have a heart attack.
Yeah, things that cause your heart to not function are probably not a good thing. But you might be thinking right now like, oh, I have this one friend and when he or she drinks one drink, they all of a sudden get really sick. Or this person has a really high tolerance and this person doesn't, all that jazz. Some of this has to do with genetics, race, different medical conditions, because we mentioned that acetaldehyde, this toxic nonsense right here, gets broken down, but for some people it gets broken down slowly. So one drink, few drinks, could actually build up the amount of acetaldehyde they have, and then all of a sudden they're like red, they're flushed, they're nauseous. You know someone like that.
I know a lot of people like that.
Me too. Number 6, part of these horrific chemicals in your body are the reason that we get hangovers when we drink too much. Jamie, tell me one of your favorite hangover cures.
Water. Lots and lots of water.
For me, it's like really, really greasy breakfast and just like trying to sleep as long as I can. What's another one you've tried?
Vitamin, oranges, eating a lot of fruit as well.
Okay, this just sounds like a really solid like brunch.
I think eating a healthy brunch is probably part of the cure.
I know, and like there's so many people you go out with and they're like, oh, take this pill and do this and drink this and whatever, and you won't be hungover. We scientifically don't have anything out there that will guarantee protection against a hangover. It's all different for different people, and there's a lot of reasons why people get hungover. Part of it is, as we mentioned, the acetaldehyde. There's also stomach irritation, which is why you vomit, you get nauseous, you get diarrhea, you get other nasty things happening in the morning. There's also inflammation. Sleep is totally wrecked. Can you sleep when you're drunk?
Not really. It's really hard for me.
Because we don't really REM sleep, right?
You don't get into that deep sleep. But the other thing is, what do you do when you're drinking? You pee a lot. So you're getting rid of a lot of fluid, which makes you really dehydrated, right?
Which is why a responsible person who's out with you when it's New Year's Eve or your birthday and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go wild with the drinks, is going to make sure that you are drinking a glass of water or something with some substance that's not alcohol in between drinks, because avoiding dehydration is pretty important if you expect to be functional the next day.
Exactly. That's the most important thing, which is why I drink a ton of water.
Also, are you a believer in this whole saying, a beer before liquor, never been sicker, but liquor before beer, we're in the clear? What do you think of that?
I thought it was completely stupid.
It's just very stupid. There's people out there will be like, oh, beer before liquor, never been sicker. I'm gonna guess it's because beer might make you a little tipsy and then you drink more liquor. Whereas if you drink liquor first, you just kind of get drunk faster and then you don't drink as much. I might be hyperanalyzing it. Here's the best way to prevent a hangover, just don't drink. I'm gonna sell that on Instagram. Be like, magic cure for hangovers, don't drink, swipe up.
Let's get to number 7. So when you look at number 7, there's varying degrees of the way that we use alcohol, right? You can abuse alcohol, you can be addicted to alcohol, you can binge drink, and we talked about all those things. But I think what's important is to understand when to ask for help.
Because there is addiction and alcohol abuse, and it is a concern for a lot of people out there. A lot of healthcare professionals use the term alcohol use disorder, and they talk to people about their symptoms, and it's almost like they're placing people on a spectrum from the occasional alcohol abuse to full-blown addiction. And they may sit down with someone and ask a set of questions to kind of get a sense of where they're at. Here's an example of some of the questions that a clinician may ask someone who is worried about alcohol use disorder.
Okay, I'm gonna be the patient. You
Okay,
be the
I'm gonna
clinician.
ask you. Okay.
Ask me.
In the past year, have you more than once wanted to cut down or stop drinking and tried to but couldn't?
Yes.
Number 2, you spent a lot of time drinking or being sick or getting over it and dealing with the after effects?
Let me think. Yes.
Wanted to drink so badly you couldn't think of anything else?
Yeah.
Found that drinking or being sick from drinking often interfered with your ability to take care of your house, your family, your job?
Babe, is that true? Yes? Yes.
In the past year, have you given up or cut back on activities that are important or interesting to you or gave you pleasure in order to drink?
I mean, I'm drinking right now and I didn't go to work today, so yes.
Okay. More than once, have you gotten into situations while or after drinking that increases your chances of getting hurt, such as driving, swimming, using machinery, walking in a dangerous area, or having unprotected sex?
You mean to tell me that I shouldn't have swam 100 laps after I drank that bourbon?
No one should do that. We see people in the ER who wind up there after they're drinking and swimming in bodies of water they should not be bodying in.
But in all seriousness, the answer was no to all those questions. But if your answer is yes, these are the individuals that need to ask for help.
What it basically comes down to is alcohol use impairing your ability to still take care of your friends, your family, your house, and protect yourself from danger, and you wanting to stop, but maybe you can't. And an important take-home point is there's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to asking for help. Most important thing you can do is ask.